On today's video, I'm going to show you two techniques that you need to try when things get really tough out on the ledges. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, I wanted to show you guys two different techniques that I really like to lean on hard when things get pretty tough, pretty slow out ledge fishing or offshore fishing. You know, I live on Lake Chickamauga. This is a great ledge fishing lake, a little bit extra pressure compared to other lakes around. You know, I mean, the Tennessee River in general just gets a ton of traffic, and the fish are just constantly pressured. But Chickamauga, there's just not as many areas to go around, and so it seems like the fish have, every single fish has seen every single lure possible in a tackle shop. But there's really two different techniques that, especially during, you know, during the May, when the fish first get out on the ledges and they're kind of in that post-spawn funk. And then again, when things start getting really tough in like July, because the fish have already been, pressured so hardcore for the whole month of June, which is pretty much like open season on ledge fish. But in July, they start getting a little bit of lockjaw because they've been, had swim baits, crankbaits, spoons, hair jigs, all that stuff has been thrown at them nonstop, and they've fallen for it time and time again. And now they're like, all right, no more crankbaits. I'm doing something different. So I really like to slow down in those scenarios. And then also you run into current issues. You know, if you don't have the current, you're just not going to have, get a lot of bites, especially with reaction baits that imitate shad. So there's two techniques that really are important to my fishing, especially here on the Tennessee River, but this can apply to many different reservoirs and lakes around the country. Any highland reservoir, even midland reservoir, lakes like Eufaula, these techniques are going to be big. Really, the majority of the lakes. If you're fishing offshore, these are two techniques you need to try. So the first one isn't very finessey. You're fishing it kind of finessey, but it's really kind of a big, bulky bait, and that is a Magnum sized worm. This right here is a Z-Man Mag Fatties. This is my favorite oversized worm. It's really not that big. It's 7 inches, but it's super wide bodied, and it's full of salt, but it's also made of elastec, so it does stick up off the bottom. And really, if I'm fishing offshore and I'm not fishing deep in cover, like a brush pile or vegetation or something like that, most of the time, if it's clean bottom, shell bars, things like that, I'm going to be putting it on a Magnum Shaky Head like this. This right here is the lead shaker from Secret Lures. It's a company I don't work with anymore. I actually used to work with them. They make a great product in the lead shaker. I love this jig head. It's still to this day my favorite offshore, Magnum Shaky Head. You can see it's got a kind of a football design. It's got this little, they called it the pivot divot, but it's it's just a good overall, jig head. It's got a pretty heavy duty hook, so you want to use at least 12-pound test is pushing it. A 15-pound test is usually what I like to use with the lead shaker, and I'll use like a big 7.5-inch rod or 7.5-foot rod, maybe 7.3 medium heavy or something like that too. But anyways, the lead shaker with the Mag Fatties is a really good option for slowing down but still catering to those larger fish, trying to get a bigger than average size fish. And so if I'm fishing a ledge that's just been absolutely hammered, the fish are still there, or maybe even the currents kind of died down, it's one of those lulls during the day, this is going to be one of the first baits that I'm going to throw out there, because I really still want to cater to those big bites, right? But I do need to slow down. And in particular, this bait right here, the Mag Fatties, because it has such a subtle action without like the ribbon tail on the back, which there are a lot of great ribbon tail worms, like this one right here. They do have an inherent action to it, have that nice flowy, signature ribbon tail glide to it, or swimming action. Those are great too. I'll use it on the lead shaker as well. But I find when things get really tough, a nice subtle straight tail worm like this works wonders. So anyways, the way that I'm going to be fishing a Magnum Shaky Head rig like this is I'm going to just be casting it out to the same exact areas that I had been catching fish, maybe on reaction baits like, you know, hair jigs, spoons, crankbaits or something like that, and just drag it super, super slow. Just real deliberate, slow, just count every single shell and rock that you come in contact with. That's the name of the game, just fishing it super, super slow. But this is one that you definitely need to try when things start to slow down, and especially if you got brush piles around. Now you may, if you're fishing brush piles or even a little bit of vegetation, you definitely might want to switch to a Texas rig. But the big worm in general is going to be a really good option for all those scenarios. The next setup or technique that I like to use when things get really tough, especially out here in the Tennessee River, you know, I'm not a big finesse guy. I really am not. I do it because I have to in a lot of scenarios, but especially a drop shot is not my favorite thing in the world. I'll be honest. I grew up in California, so I should love a drop shot, but for most scenarios, other than fishing up north for smallmouth and fishing the Tennessee River, I'm not a big drop shot fan. However, I do love the drop shot on the Tennessee River because it is probably the best bait or technique to catch fish when nothing else is working, which is something that I think a lot of people that are, you know, have never been to the Tennessee River, when they go there and say they find their first school, you know, on a ledge, there's hundreds of fish there. There's no way that you can't catch them with reaction baits, right? You should be able to, since there's so many fish there, you should be able to fool a couple into eating a crankbait or something like that. But there are times out there on these lakes that you'll have 100 fish on your screen on forward-facing sonar, and you just can't get them to bite anything but a drop shot. It really is crazy. A drop shot like this, I like to use a Morning Dawn, or this is Twilight is what Z-Man calls their kind of Morning Dawn color. This is the long shots from Z-Man. So a straight tail 6 or 7 inch worm on either a nose hook, like this one right here is the Hayabusa DSR 132. I really like this one if it's a real clean bottom, or a straight shank finesse, you know, hook that is designed for kind of Texas rigging your drop shot baits. If you're fishing around brush, or, you know, you've got an occasional stump or something like that, that's also a really good option. But in general, a good drop shot rig on these offshore areas is probably your last ditch effort to get some bites. And it seems in the last like 2 or 3 years, Lake Chickamauga, the offshore fishing has got so tough that consistently the drop shot is one of the only things that is still getting bites for me. And this color in particular is what's catching the fish. Morning Dawn or Twilight, this is the color that I like to use more often than not. Sometimes I go to something like a Margarita Mutilator or Meat Dog, or, you know, something that has a little bit more purple in it. Yeah, a drop shot is definitely something that you're going to have rigged up this time of year, because fishing isn't getting any easier. You know, the pressure that these fish are feeling with more people being on the water, the technology getting better, just anglers in general getting better, drop shot's going to be one of your best tools. Now, as far as the leader length goes, I'm not going to dive too much into that. You should experiment a little bit. This is about an 18-inch leader length. It's a little bit long. I've gone as short as like 8 inches or something like that. Really, it's all about just, it's the same thing with the big worm, casting it out there and dragging it back really, really slow through those areas where the fish are. So anyways, guys, those are the two techniques that I really like to lean on hard nowadays when the fishing gets really tough out on the ledges or offshore fishing in general. Whether you're on a river system like the Tennessee River or just kind of a more, I don't want to say stagnant, but you know, a lake that doesn't have a lot of current generation, fishing these two baits can sometimes be the only way that you get some bites. And so anyways, guys, just wanted to share with you two of my favorite techniques for offshore fishing when things get tough. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite baits are when things get really tough. I want to hear that. And if you have any questions, also drop a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out those links in the description below. Other than that, I'm going to see you out on the water. Make sure you trust the process.